Hi, it's Friday. It's 3 o'clock. Welcome to Together Unlocked, brought to you as always by Together 2012. We're an arts organisation based in the main 2012 borough of Newham. I'm Jude Gosling, also known as the artist Jude 90, and I'm artistic director of Together 2012. With me in my East London studio is our chair, the artist and documenter Julie Newman, and also a small brown tabby called Jinx. We're going to come back to East London for some audio description in a minute, but first we're going to go to the other end of a long wheeled sofa to the West Midlands and introduce our co hosts, have some audio description. And this is Friday, so we're dressed up to go out to stay in. So we'll also be talking a little bit about what we're dressed up to go out to do. So over to the West Midlands.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome to Friday of this week. I am Robin Surgeoner, Business Director at Together 2012, and the artist known as Angry Fish. Uh, so, what am I dressed as today? What do I look like today? I am wearing a grey insulated, I think I'd call it a beanie hat actually. Um, no rimmed black armed glasses. My face is pale. I think that's to do with the weather. And I'm wearing a long sleeved, thermal lined, half zipped top. It's not a hoodie, it's a top. And you might say, well, why are you wearing those? And that's because I am not going to, but dressed up to go on an outdoor adventure. Like a survivor in the wild type affair. Um, It may be something I bring up for something for the weekend in a couple of weekends' time. This is a top that was part of a collection designed with, I guess, the former chief scout. I'm trying not to brand it too much, but the initials BG, and one of those words is a large mammal. Um, and it is extreme. Bear Grylls. It, it,
Well, actually, I'm really glad you brought that up because I saw in the news yesterday that 500 scout troops are faced with closure. The scouts are doing all sorts of fundraising at the moment, and they really are excellent on diversity and inclusion. I say that partly because our very own Tony Malone, who designs our logos and is a deaf artist, is also the inclusion and diversity lead for the Scouts. So we've been privileged to see them as they've changed the curriculum for their disability
way, way,
studies.
way I was just saying, I mean, way back to when I was a scout, and they, I mean, it wouldn't have been called reasonable adjustments, but for both the hikes that I did, including the stopover hike, they changed them massively um to what was considered an equal endeavor in terms of my physical movement capacity compared to an able-bodied scout. And I mean, I am going back to the mid 70s, and they were doing they
People don't realise that it actually goes back to the birth of scouting and guiding. People who know me personally or indeed professionally may know that I have a passion for 20th century British girls' school stories. And so I know quite a lot about 20th century girls' fiction. And there was a whole genre of books that were really written by guide leaders about, very, very kind of true to life, and there was some wonderful descriptions of the different activities they had. So they had extension companies. So there was a story where one of the guides was an extension guide and she had to lie flat on her back all day. So they do all of the different things, but they get letters, they get it all in letters. It's all incredibly detailed. And then this same character goes in for hospital treatment, and she sends these letters which are based on real guides about how they've got a company in the hospital, and if you've got to lie flat on your back, how you salute the flag and you do eyes left and eyes right, because of course it was quite military then,
yeah, yeah.
you know, with their exercises and so on. But it's extraordinary when you read these books from before the Second World War that have made disabled young people absolutely central. And now we think it's all very kind of modern and 21st century. But yeah, we will move on. But yeah, I think big respect to these 500
Mm.
scout troops. I understand quite a few of the ones most at risk are the ones in the areas of most need. So, yeah, even if we can just spread the word that they can do with some help, I think that's our good turn for the day. But moving on, Josh, who are you? What do you look like, and what are you dressed up to go out to stay in to do?
Hi, I'm Josh Surgeon. I'm one of the other hosts of Together Unlocked, and I'm a PhD research student. I also spent a few years in the Scouts and had a great time when I was younger. I look like today I am wearing a long sleeve kind of grey and black, um, which is the away strip for the England rugby team. So it has a white and red English rose on the left breast. And then I'm also wearing another bubble hat, which has a not quite as large as the one that I wore a few weeks ago, but another preposterously large bubble on top, which is blue, white, and red, and then it has another kind of England rugby logo on it. And I am dressed up for that because this weekend the Six Nations kind of gets going again after it was postponed in March. So I am dressed up to be kind of there in the stands in Rome to watch the England Italy game. I've never been to the Stadio Olimpico, so I don't have a cup, but I have my Twickenham Cup, which is one of many, and I think this is the one I got from the England Italy game at the Six Nations last year, which was in Twickenham. Uh, so yeah, that's me.
And I think it just goes to show how much you can get out of watching things at home anyway. I mean, there's always been the tradition of the football parties and the rugby parties and so on, isn't there? The cost of tickets being what they are, most fans still watch it on the TV in any case.
Yes.
But I do love the hat, and as with last week, I could have a matching set of Joshes in different hats with little fishing lines as part of the reinvention of the backyard. So, back in East London, I'm Jew Gosling, also known as Jew 90. I have short, tenured red hair, rather inexpertly corona cropped with the dog's shears. I've got black plastic glasses, black wrist braces, silver coloured jewellery, and today I am wearing a black and silver Doctor Who Cybermen t shirt. And I'm actually wearing that to go out virtually to the Saatchi Gallery. But I will tell you more about that after 3:30 when we always on a Friday recommend something for the weekend. And those are activities that you can do from home, online or offline, including what's on the TV, and almost always those activities, like our own, will be entirely free. So, Julie, who are you? Sorry, just anybody who can't see Julie, I think you should start by describing your glasses because I've just turned around and almost jumped.
That's because I'm incognito. Joe, you were a guide, weren't you?
I was. In fact, I stayed as long in I was a Queen's guide, in fact. And I think for me, it was the outdoor activities that I really loved. We weren't rich enough to go on holiday. So going off camping and then learning all those skills. And, I've camped, as you know, an awful lot as an adult. And I never would have had the confidence to do that as a disabled person without all of that training. But yeah, I think back in certainly if you lived on the coast or in a rural community in the 60s and 70s, they were the only youth activities. And I think, again, for an awful lot of young people not living in cities or indeed living in very deprived parts of the city, it's the scouts or guides or absolutely nothing. So, like I said, I do need to support them. But every time your eyes move behind these glasses, it is quite off putting. So, Julie, who are you? What do you look like? And what are you dressed up to go out to stay and to do?
I'm incognito today, which is why I've got dark glasses on. Because I'm going to be going with Wallace and Gromit to the moon tomorrow because it's a blue hunter's moon tomorrow, which is quite an event. It's going to be
Yes,
actually
but what do you
global.
look like?
Right. What do I look like? I have.
What do you
I'm
look
so
like?
incognito. I couldn't even describe it. I've got glasses on which are sort of shaped like cat's eyes, strangely. grown up and big person size. I've got my usual.
And the glasses have cat's eyes superimposed over the lenses, so all you can see is the eyeballs flicking in these little round bits, which is, if you're in the studio next to her, I have to say, is really disconcerting.
See, it works. So I have uncut gold and silver hair. And today, because I'm going to the moon with Wallace and Gromit incognito, I have a navy blue T-shirt with a NASA emblem on it, because they excuse me, they've got lots of pictures and so on their freely available site because it's educational, and I am wearing my lovely howling at the moon, the dogs howling at the moon or wolves howling at the moon necklace, and my where am I? It's all back to front on the
You
monitor.
can tell it's Friday and she can't see through these glasses.
I can't
at all.
see through the glasses. I've got my little torque on, which is my little bracelet with wolves' heads.
I think what's more concerning than the look is, on the grounds of its lockdown, that you happen to have a pair of cat's eye glasses just lurking somewhere around the house to wear.
Well, we have spent the last 7 months in my live workspace, which doesn't have masses of room for living, but does have ample space for all of those items that you just happen to pick up for studios over the years. I'm pretty sure you bought those though, Julie.
I did. I have to confess I did. I saw them and thought, oh my goodness, I know Jill love that.
This is the trouble with shielding and mail order. Not only do you have more time to shop, but you also have more money, and it's those don't shop after midnight is my rule. So just finish the audio description by saying behind us you can see part of the wonderful Together 2012 graffiti banner, which was created with an organisation called Graffiti Life and a group of the participants in our year-round clubs programme. And it has images on it of all of the different activities we do, both in our artistic programme of exhibitions and festivals and screenings and performances, but also on a weekly basis for disabled people and whoever they want to bring with them. So we've got images of art, craft, live music, poetry, spoken word, carnival art, street art, photography and filmmaking, and much, much more. We're going to tell you a little bit later about how you can join in with that program from home. Julie, did you want to? Sorry, I'm losing the plot here completely. Every time she turns around, it is just absolutely terrifying. Was there anything you wanted to add in terms of the audio description? Because I believe behind us we also have a teddy bear that's taking part in the Great Bear Hunt.
A triumphant bear called Liz, who is that right?
It is Liz, the English heritage bear.
Right, who is triumphant because she won the little contest that we had on Wednesday.
Clockwork Paralympics every Wednesday. We race clockwork toys to see whose bear can wear the gold medal. Ours is wearing the gold medal, but appears whether it's wearing a medal or not. In Sutton Coldfield, the home of the Paralympians, if the bear hasn't got a medal on, we tend not to see it again until it's competing again, but they bring out a different team member the following time. So in terms of dressing up to go out to stay in, we also have random animal hosts in addition to the four of ourselves and our writer in residence, Penny Pepper. We're all living with animals. They come and go as they please. Every time you see our camera wobble, that's because Leonardo, who's a very large black fluffy cat, is sitting next to it. And now he's decided on his new favourite game, which is take all of the magnets off the whiteboard and then the schedule will fall off. And then Mummy will have to give him some attention. But we've had Julie's two cats living in my office since March. And this is Christy dressed up to go out to stay in. And it's a very strange photograph where there's this incredibly spooky looking, he's like a Felix cat. He's a white cat with a black dinner jacket, and he's peering over this illuminated, is it your iPad?
No, it's my lamp at home in the living room.
Oh, I see. So this is an older photograph.
Yes,
But what's
yes.
he dressed up to go out to do?
Well, he's going to look at the moon, of course, tomorrow.
Of course, I should have realised. And then I believe this is your assistant's dog, dressed up in a pumpkin outfit. That's a little bit more audio description, Julie.
She has a little orange and green hat on, and she's wearing a pumpkin orange little vest with green frills around the collar. It's got pumpkin smiley thing on the back, which we can't see. And she's dressed up to stay in because she's not going out trick or treating or going in the streets. She's going to have a lovely weekend with us.
I
Yes,
of a Thanksgiving dog.
yes, there is that as well. A
Mm.
Thanksgiving dog. I didn't realise that animals had dressing up outfits until Julie introduced me to them about 20 years ago. So now they have a dressing up bag. In more usual times, I tend to give out. I have at least 75 children usually visit on the estate to do trick or treating, and occasionally I dress the dog up as a pumpkin because hey, that's a little trick for them. They certainly don't expect that when the doors open. But of course, it is not safe to do Halloween outside today or tomorrow or this weekend or at any point in 2020. We've seen some bizarre social media posts about how to trick and treat safely. You cannot do it. There was some council advice about not giving out loose sweets. And I thought, well, who would anyway? But if you've got coronavirus and you give kids a packet, you're going to be giving them more than you intended. And if you've got kids ringing doorbell after doorbell, again, they could be picking up a lot more than you intended. So have those celebrations at home. But moving on, or I should say, moving back, Wednesday is our pop up poetry club day. And we read poems in the afternoon that have been written just that morning. And this week's theme was the sea. Next week's theme is the morning, isn't it? As in the sort of time of day. But we've got a poem from Blake Jarrett Gibbons that I think Josh is going to read that didn't come. Well, I think it did come in time, but it didn't get into my email box in time to read on Wednesday. So I wonder if you could just read that to us now, Josh.
Yeah. So this is Blake's work from Wednesday. For me, I live in a city, but I don't feel mentally home in the city. I feel most at rest away from city life. To break free, a chance to be near the sea can be a huge lift of weight. The sight I can see, the smell of moisture in the air, the sound of either extremely slow, gentle waves or humongous crashing water. Little drop or big splash, dribbling in and out or thumping as it crashes, crashing into solidarity. Wake up call into life, flowing into a calmer mental emotion. The sea is part of Nature. It's the motion and noise of the sea is an expression of the emotion of the world. Wherever you are, what emotion is making you feel when you look, when you smell, what you feel the sea, when you feel the sea. The animals within are all part of motherhood, protected by the waters, the deep canyons within, or the floating level provided. I can sit and look at it sometimes and ask, how would I come across if the sea was showing my emotion? Brightly coloured with a smooth flow and a whispery noise? Maybe vice versa. Could I be somewhere halfway between? I have crossed the sea. I have swam in Mother Nature's waves and currents. Yes, I have swallowed seawater. Yes, I have stood up high and looked down into the sea from many parts. I have been in the sea and looked to the sky, sunlit sky pouring rays of brightness on the sea. I have sat in looking up at the magic of the moonlight and stars, not quite dancing in the moonlight, more floating under the moonlight. My last sea walk was along Broadstairs, clear sky, a quiet sea that day, shades of blue and green, a calm, happy sea, therapeutically quiet. I doubt I was the same. Need to ask my friend about that side of it. When I can smell the sea, I can feel its emotions as it feels mine. I can look at it and ask myself, why? I can be by sunlight or moonlight. Do I feel most free? I certainly don't feel imprisoned. Excuse me now. I need to go and plan my visit to be with Mother Nature, away from my abnormal mentally yet physical home. I will probably end up, yes, you got it, near the sea.
Great, and thank you so much for reading that well, Josh. I know you'd only just seen it, and thank you for sending it in, Blake. Blake was the very first volunteer on our annual film festival, so we've known Blake for 8 years, haven't we? And I think, as with so many of the artists that we've been on a journey with, it's just wonderful to see people develop and develop and develop. So, if you're somebody who's never written a poem, that isn't where you start, is it? You know, I think nobody should ever sort of feel, oh, I've tried something for the first time or the second time or the third time or the fourth time. It takes work and it takes practice, but we're always on a journey. So we've got some other artwork that people have sent in from home. This is a short video from Steraplergia and Hannah Facey. And just to audio describe it from the beginning, it's a video and also then some photos of Stera painting stones in different colours and then using a flower as a paintbrush with results that we'll tell you about at the end. So I'm just going to pop this on.
Oh, hi, I'm Stara. I painted rocks for the garden. I painted using flowers. Bye.
So just to finish, Stara was using, I think it was dandelions, and dipping them in white paint, and then using them to leave an imprint of the flower on these blue and purple stones. And then they used them to edge a flower border, and it was just such a simple and effective thing to do.
I thought it was lovely. Those guys, I had to put my glasses back on because I couldn't see the
Your
film.
real glasses.
My actual glasses. I'm back in Julie form. I'm not incognito anymore. But I thought that was lovely, and I've always looking forward to any films that come from Stera and Hannah because they're so creative.
They are, and it's always something that you can copy, and you end up thinking, "Oh, I wish I'd thought of that." Now, it's Halloween tomorrow, as we say, and if you're going to be celebrating at home, this is an image that Pritesh Patel has sent in. So just popped that up on the screen completely. So what Pritesh has done is he's made bunting by cutting it out of red paper. So he's just cut different shaped triangles out of paper. He's drawn on each of those little flags and he's attached them with what looks like sellotape to a ribbon or a piece of string and hung them across. I don't know, can you describe it any better than that, Julie?
It's got sort of caricatures of pumpkin faces and so on. I think it's excellent. It's really nice.
And of course, you can do it with anything. If you don't celebrate Halloween, it's still nice to have that kind of homemade bunting. I think we've talked before about using old calendars to make bunting, where you can cut out pictures of animals and so on very easily just by using a kind of triangular template and drawing around it and cutting it out, or even just folding them and cutting them along the lines. But I like this where you can just do anything you want, any theme you want. It can be festival based, it can be seasonal based. So thank you again for that, Pritesh. And finally, Glory Sango has sent in this image of Thorpe Park. It looks to me like it's some kind of very scary ride with all of the felt tip and so on. But it's quite representational, but it comes across with all of those feelings, doesn't it? The way the pens have been used and the different images and the different scribbles. I don't know whether I think that's probably Glory's memories of Thorpe Park. I'm not sure that he's been there recently, but I will check. But thank you, everybody who's been sending things in, whether you're an amateur artist, a community artist, an aspiring professional, a professional artist. One of the things that's really fundamental together is that we all come together and we've all got something to learn and we've all got something to teach. So, whatever your artwork, we would love to see it, and same with your poems, your films, and everything else. If you're a professional artist with a project you'd like us to showcase, again, please do get in touch. I'm going to put some information at the bottom of the screen a bit later, but I think now is a really good time just to tell you a bit more about the Join In From Home programme and the other ways that you can send things in to us. Together 2012 is running a Join In From Home programme from our website, together2012.org.uk. Click on the link at the top of the page, Join In From Home, to go straight to the main page where you have a wide range of accessible, inclusive creative activities, mostly using things that you would already have at home. At the top of the page and throughout the pages, you will also see videos in British Sign Language to translate the site for deaf people. These videos can also be useful if you have difficulties reading and you simply want to hear more of the content. The Join In From Home programme is based on the activities that we would usually be running in East London. So, for example, we have an arts club which usually operates on a Tuesday with craft-based activities and on a Friday morning for drawing and painting. Here you can join in with the arts club's Hands project and celebrate your uniqueness and membership of the human race. There are full instructions on the linked page here. But essentially, we invite you to draw around your hand on a piece of card. It could be an old cereal packet. Cut the shape out, turn it over, and decorate it with anything you would like to do. It could be paints, crayons, glitter, collage, beads, leaves, anything you can think of. Photograph your hand or hands and send it to us at tv@together2012.org.uk. We'll add it to our video installation and share it on social media. Our music club usually meets on the first Friday of each month. We have an open mic session and we invite everybody to play along with percussion instruments. So here you can learn how to make your own percussion instruments from recycled materials. And you can also join in a percussion workshop from last summer in terms of carnival percussion. So these three instruments are used most often in carnival. We have a shaker and a go-go and a hand drum. So this is how to make a recycled shaker, a recycled go-go, and a recycled hand drum. You can also, if you're technically minded, make your own tactile sound instrument. This does require a few simple electronics, but is a very interesting and exciting project as part of our Vibrafusion ongoing work. You can also listen with Together. We have Spotify playlists created by Robin Surgener, also known as our TV presenter Angry Fish, and we also have 2 classical music playlists from Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra, including one that's uniquely suited to people who are feeling very unwell. So I'm just going to put some text on the bottom of the screen with the website address, which is www.together2012.org.uk. And of course, the other thing you can now find on our website is the full programme for our Together 2020 Disability History Month Festival, which starts in just 2 weeks' time, or indeed just under 2 weeks' time. There's going to be various ways that you can take part. The first is the easy option. You can just click on YouTube or click on our website and you'll be able to watch the event there. You can also apply in most cases for tickets, in which case you can join in by Zoom and also ask questions and so on if it's an audience facing event. So that's all very exciting. We're very excited. And we have also just added a new exhibition by Shadowlight artists from Oxford. So there'll be more information about that next week. But one of the things that we've been doing really just starting this month, but it doesn't seem like it, does it? At the beginning of October, we relaunched our club's program on Zoom and telephone. So we told you more on Wednesday about the telephone based group, but we're running 2 sessions a week of the art club now on Zoom. On a Friday, the drawing and painting session has become a still life session so that people have got something to work on together. Usually everybody's in the same space working on their own projects. So now they're all in their own space. We're working on things that are similar. So we have a highlights and links page on our website. It's under the main Together Unlocked TV page. And we put the still life picture up each week so that you can join in from home as well. So I'm just going to pop up this one. And this is by our club's program leader, Alison Marchant. And Alison, of course, is an international artist in her own right as well. So there's a pink jar. It's a jam jar of the kind of posh jam jar that comes with a red and white gingham top. And then I recognize it from previous art clubs when we were painting on glass. So it's been painted pink. It's got a pale pink, and I can't tell if it's spots, but I think it's just the reflections and the shadows. There's a pale pink child's what do you call it?
A windmill.
Windmill.
Yes, a windmill, but or a wind blower. And then there's a glass lemonade bottle with a pink label on it behind. So I'm just going to take that down. And then I've got one picture here that's come in from Crystal Peasy that Crystal did this morning. And this is Crystal's interpretation in pinks, blues, purples. I mean, I'm particularly impressed by this because Crystal had to do the whole thing, really on an iPad, and she's partially sighted. So I think that's great. Well done, Crystal.
I think it's lovely. I know Crystal reasonably well, and she loves pinks, doesn't she? She loves pinks and purples. So this was right up her street today.
Yes, I remember Crystal writing poems about pinks and purples because she's also a member of our poetry group. So thanks for everybody who sent things in. We're now going to move on to our something for the weekend spot. And well, I won't start because I've got to pick the iPad up again, but I will explain when I do my links why we are dressed up, or why I am dressed up in this particular way. And all of the links will be under our highlights and links page. That goes up by about 5 o'clock, and then we'll have a recording of this show with enhanced audio and the captions embedded up about 8 o'clock. So, Robin, do you want to share a link, a recommendation?
Absolutely. So yeah, I've got a bit of a strange weekend ahead of me, but I've managed to pull out a couple of things. So the first thing I'm going to bring to you today is the link is for a trailer for series 2 of a BBC series called His Dark Materials. If you don't know this is based on a series of books by Philip Pullman. And series 2, so next weekend we'll have something to do for the weekend, will be actually series 2. But the reason I brought it up this weekend is because they've just released the trailer. I mean, and it's a hugely cinematic trailer for it. And I was thinking that actually if you are finding yourself at a loose end this weekend, particularly if the weather's going to be as damp and horrible as they say, then you could use this weekend, if you haven't already seen series one of his Dark Materials, to kind of what do they call it? Binge watch series one, then watch the trailer for series two, or watch the trailer for series two. Go, my golly, I really need to see series one for it to all make sense, and do it that way around. But the bits I've seen,
Film as well, wasn't it? Because they've been very, very popular books, but as I understand it, a lot of the fans didn't really like the film. So I think the TV series has had better reviews. I mean, you collect children's books, Julie. Do you have anything to add?
I'm not a big fan of Philip Pullman's, to be honest. But when I've seen the film, it comes up from time to time on the television. I find it quite engrossing.
yeah, see, I'm the same. Sorry, Joe. I to say that um I've I struggled with those books. I don't know why. You know, some books you just get in and you're embraced by, and the Pullman ones haven't worked for me. But I actually really enjoyed Golden Compass, which is like the original kind of interpretation of book one, and was really disappointed when they never made the follow on. So yeah, I have yet. I'm going to endeavour and do the binge watch over the next week or so, ready to watch series two.
And I think it's a really good way to end half term for anybody who's actually on holiday and thinks their school or college is going to be reopening on Monday. So, what's the next one from you, Josh?
Uh, Similar actually. I had season 2 of The Mandalorian, which is a Star Wars story. It's set in the Star Wars kind of universe, um, and follows a Mandalorian who is a bounty hunter. Um, so season 2 comes out today. So there's a link for that, but then there's also a link for anyone that's kind of watched it or hasn't watched season 1. You can catch up. There's also a series that's kind of the making of season 1, um, and there's kind of conversations around directing and casting, kind of story and legacy. So that's kind of really interesting on a storytelling point of view and a filmmaking point of view. But there's also kind of episodes around some of the amazing technology that they kind of pioneered, really, or perfected to make that series, um, and that it's kind of filmed primarily in one room with a giant kind of virtual background. Yeah, and they were talking about how that frees them up as filmmakers. But I think actually in the world that we're living in now, when you can't go and do location scouting and fly all over the world to film things, you can, phone up the film company in wherever city, get them to go and grab all of this digital footage, send it to you, and then you can film virtually in that environment wherever in the world you are, kind of in one room, one studio. So I think on that side of things, it's great, but it's also just really fascinating, and the story's great. Even if you don't like, I mean, you don't like Star Wars, Dad, and you really enjoyed season 1. It's just a really good kind of sci-fi show.
That sounds excellent. I mean, of course, as part of our festival, we have our annual film festival coming up, all free online from the comfort of your own home this year. And we're going to be having sessions on Thursday and Friday, the 3rd and 4th, about funding, about union support, but also in the afternoons, filming in the age of COVID. And that sounds like, very high end and expensive, but as you say, compared to the costs of actually going overseas or even shooting somewhere like Manchester at the moment, it could be a solution. So, yeah, that sounds absolutely fascinating. I think on a previous highlight, you gave us a list, and I will try and find it and copy and paste it, of the viewing order of the Star Wars films for people like me who saw the first couple and then just got completely confused when it seemed to go backwards, and have got more and more confused over the decades since. So my binge watching will start with the list of the Star Wars films. Julie, what did you have for us?
Well, I did a little hunt round, and I found that YouTube has got a massive Wallace and Gromit selection on it. And of course, the grand day out was when they went to the moon, which is what I was referring to earlier on. I really love Wallace and Gromit. I really love the whole Aardman thing. And I'm going to, I think, spend the weekend just doing a binge of different Aardman films and different clips, because I'm really interested to see how they animate, and I'd like to get a few tips, I think, from Aardman's.
Yeah, I mean, not having seen your kitchen for 7 months, you'll be missing your various Aardman souvenirs and kind of little Wallaces and Grommets and Shaun the Sheeps and so on.
I love Shaun the Sheep, I must confess.
Yes, we'll have to make our own. So I'm dressed up like this because I'm going to go to the Saatchi Gallery, which in fact has a real show on, I have to say, for anybody who's not shielding and is living in London. So the Saatchi Gallery is hosting an exhibition called Philip Colbert's, try and pronounce this, Lobsteropolis. Now, those of you who know East London may remember that Boris Johnson originally named the kind of redevelopment of the Olympic Park as Olympicopolis. That very carefully and quickly and quietly got dropped, so it's now known as something like the Cultural Quarter. But I think the Olympicopolis and the kind of that whole kind of pretentious and kind of stuff really stuck. So Philip Colbert has done Lobsteropolis, and he's a contemporary artist that does a lot of images with lobsters anyway. If I could have found my crab t-shirt, it was a bit closer to a lobster than this. But the reason I'm wearing the Cyberman t-shirt is he has, let me just check the numbers, 20 robots trundling around the Saatchi Gallery
Wonderful.
that you can control from home. So this is the kind of most high-tech version I have yet heard of how to experience an exhibition virtually. So you contact his studio. The details will be on the link, but the details are on the Saatchi Gallery website. You get given a time slot, and then you can control where it goes, how close it gets to the exhibits, how it looks up and down, and so on and so forth. He was saying that they may have to intervene if people start racing the lobster robots around and all deliberately starting to crash them. So he's obviously got probably the kind of friends we've got.
It's
But
me out of it then. Yeah.
but it opens on Wednesday, and
Oh,
it's available for a whole month. I love the kind of the surrealism and the humor. I mean, the whole thing, you don't make work about giant kind of cartoon lobsters unless you've got a really good sense of humor. And I think it's often something people don't realize, that art can be funny and it can be laughed at, and that's great. I mean, I think we all need a good laugh at the moment. Whether he was planning to have anything to do with robots, I don't know, but if he did, he must have thought his Christmases had all come at once, because what a fantastic opportunity. But yeah, I just love it. The idea of these art lobster robots going around looking at the lobster exhibits. And yeah, doesn't matter if you're shielding, doesn't matter if you don't live in London, doesn't matter if you were stuck at home anyway, irrespective of the pandemic, you can go and have a look at the lobsters. So that opportunity will be available for the next almost 4 weeks. So if you can't get the time slot that you want, then I think it's worth just letting the studio know, yeah, just broad availability, but it just sounds fabulous. So thank you, Philip Colper. That's given me a real lift, if only to think it's just so funny. So who else has got another recommendation for us?
yeah. Oh, should I?
I thought you could go first.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I said at the beginning of this segment that I had a bit of a funny weekend. That's because if I actually get my act together, I shall spend tomorrow ensuring that I finish a film to submit to the film festival before the end of submission at 11:59 p.m. tomorrow.
This is probably the point where I should say that I've extended the late deadline for submissions to the Together 2020 Film Festival, and this includes the films made about the subject of home. I probably shouldn't have told Robin that, but it was kind of inevitable.
Now I won't.
Just to take I wouldn't have told you at all if you weren't part of the stream, but as it is.
Fair enough.
But the quicker you can send us your films, the better. Usually we only screen films that have been finished in the last 18 months. But what we're able to do now is any film completed from 2012 onwards. So our first film festival took place in 2012. We're going to be going back over the films and pulling out some of our absolute favourites to include in the festival alongside the new ones. But if you have an older film that you didn't submit at the time and you'd like to have it screened now,
Yeah.
it's not too late. So there's a link. Well, on the website itself, there's full details of how to submit, and we'll put the link in from the highlights and links page. But what else are you doing at the weekend, Robin, once you've finished the film?
Um, I'm going to be practicing singing because the other thing I've got, and I might have mentioned it before, but it came up again today, and I just think it looks really fun. It's on twice a week, so it's on a Friday, but we've missed that for this weekend, but also on a Tuesday evening, and it's called the Sofa Singers. Um, and basically it's being led by a choral conductor or singing teacher um, called James Sillis, I think. But essentially, it's a live broadcast of people singing a song, learning how to sing a song. So it kind of covers a bit of learning it and then performing it. But the beauty of it is that it's like all the best people who don't want to sing in front of anybody else. No one can hear you and not necessarily see you, but you can hear and see what's going on there. So you can actually, shatter your neighbor's windows with your glorious vocals if that's the outcome. But with almost, well, perhaps if you're breaking their windows, not impunity, but, um, but in this, if anyone who has always wanted to sing but has never had the confidence to do it in front of anybody, you can sing to your heart's content in with others, but in the privacy of your own home. So I think it's actually kind of really good. I mean, and it's come up as a lockdown activity that has obviously kind of really worked well.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up because I saw a mention of it earlier in the week, and absolutely, and it's one of these many things that why should it end when COVID ends? There's always lots of us who are based at home, lots of people in rural areas that can't get to things or can't drive or can't get lifts or they've got caring responsibilities. Yes, Zoom has kind of made it possible, but really, I do hope it goes forward. We showed some footage earlier in the year from the lockdown choir that Gareth Malone
Yeah, Malone.
is organising, but I think this is lovely because, like you say, it's continuing, and even the sort of words "sofa singers." It's not about standing up unless you want to and can. You can just sit in your sofa and sing along if that's what suits you. Yeah, I think that sounds great. So, who else has got something that they'd like to throw into the mix?
Josh have something?
I had a couple of kind of sport events this weekend. So as I said at the top of the show, there's the Six Nations this weekend, hence my full England rugby garb that I'm wearing.
Sports gnome.
Sorry.
Sports gnome.
Yes, sports gnome. It's a very accurate
I like
description
that.
for people that can't see. So the England are playing Italy in Rome tomorrow, which is quite an important game for England. And then kind of Wales are playing Scotland and France are playing Italy on. No, they're not. France are playing Ireland even on Sunday. So the England match is on ITV. The Wales, everybody else's matches are on BBC One on Saturday, kind of throughout the day.
So
You
free
go-
from home, and presumably they don't have a live audience at the moment anyway.
I don't believe so.
So if you could never afford a ticket, it's a great equaler.
Yeah, there's also the women's Six Nations. Unfortunately, it's only the England-Italy match that's happening. The other ones are postponed. And that's unfortunately, it's on either Sky Sports or their Facebook page. So it's not as convenient to find. 'Cause
Oh,
it's very expensive, which is a shame. But on a positive note, the women's FA Cup final is on Sunday afternoon on BBC One between Everton and Man City, which should be quite good. That's Manchester
I was
City
going to say,
for
yeah, just
people that don't know who Man City are. But yeah, that's going to be on BBC One on Sunday afternoon.
do you know, I'd lost all track, and I think that's the thing. If you're not massively into sport or not into that particular sport, then once it goes out of its usual sequence, you think, but it's not May. How can it be on?
Yeah, I mean I think with lots of sport that kind of doesn't normally happen at this time of year, it's things that were supposed to happen in kind of March, April, May that have all been kind of shunted backwards in the calendar because of COVID, and have then kind of been either streamlined into really quick round robins or kind of just starting elsewhere with kind of regular season stuff.
The idea of the round robins.
But at least it gets to it, they get to finish it, which is
Well, they do.
not
And
having kind of thrown away.
I think going forward, at least they've established a way that they can safely play the games, even if we all have to watch remotely. Which hopefully means that the sporting calendar next year looks much, much more normal, even if the audience is virtual. So I think that has to be a massive step forward, doesn't it? Because really, these games could have been played previously. It's just that people were still working out how to do it safely.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about it with the International Swimming League, which is still going on, but I didn't want to mention it again because I keep talking about it. But kind of
They
what
would
they're
be
doing,
perfect.
and basketball in the States did the same of, creating these really kind of strict, tight bubbles with the professional athletes. And obviously that doesn't work for amateur sport, but kind of looking forward to the Olympics and Paralympics next year. These big events are starting to come up with ways of how can we quarantine? How can we restrict it? I mean, the ISL have basically brought out a hotel or hired out a hotel for 6 weeks because it's run by a billionaire, so they can. Something like the Olympics. I know we do Wednesdays on sport, but it literally has an Olympic village, which entire purpose is to house only people that are at the Olympics. So that kind of venue for bubbling is there. They don't need to do anything else. They brought it already for how they normally run it. So hopefully, like you said, we can get back to some normality.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of not keeping everything crossed for the Olympics yet, but I think that's partly because having been so close to London 2012, you do begin to realize just how many extra people are involved in terms of volunteers and drivers. And yeah, it's just such a big operation. But if anybody can organize it, I'm sure the Japanese can. So, talking about bubbles, the other thing I wanted to bring up for the weekend, and you can in a minute.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just in case it was this, tomorrow night, of course, is the first live show where they'll be voting for Strictly Come Dancing. Was that yours?
It was one of them for sure, yes.
And yes, I thought that went. The first live show was last week, and again, what they're doing is either you've got the celebrity teamed up with the professional dancer, and one of them has formed a bubble. So you've got celebrities that have formed a bubble with the dancers and their partners, and you've got dancers that are living apart from their own partner in order to form a bubble with a competitor. I think it's a bit like watching Bake Off, where much as I don't like Matt Lucas, I could bear to watch it because the thought of everybody being, you know, cooped up away from their family and friends and their homes for periods of weeks. Yeah, I think everybody's going to have a difficult day. And once I'd thought he'd had at least 2 difficult days, I could not forgive him for Little Britain, but at least be able to watch it. And I think it's really, really hard on the people who are bubbling, and they're all doing it to entertain us. And I think there was a real spirit of that in the launch show, that people were doing it, you know, with twice as much passion, because although there was going to be a very small studio audience, they knew how much, yeah, what a difference it made to have this live stuff back. So I'm really looking forward to that. Julie, what's your final item?
Well, similarly, I'm going to be watching with you, I think, to see Strictly, and I might even vote. I don't know, because you can do it online. I think it's important to recognise the seasons changing, because if you're stuck indoors, it's very difficult to do so. And for me, that's part of my excitement about the Hunter's Moon, the Blue Moon tomorrow night, and it being the end of October and us moving then into November and the festival that we'll be doing, etc. I think for me as well, a bit of escapism is always thinking about NASA. I like the images. I can play with the images because they're free. They're copyright free.
Yes, and we'll talk more about that on Monday, which is a
Yes.
really good time to remind you that Monday's show, we talk about film and photography. One of the subjects we've been looking at over the last few months is nature film and photography from home. So we will look forward to finding out whether you were able to photograph that. We also have our regular weekly update spot, which started being around the NHS COVID-19 app, but now includes and indeed is focused on all sorts of arts apps and how we can use them. But just in passing, apparently more people have downloaded the NHS COVID-19 app than in any other European country. And the statistics are not out yet, but they believe it's the most successful app that is running. So all of that hard work and all of the efforts that everybody at home made to tell us what you found accessible, non-accessible, confusing, useful in an app, it was all passed back to the NHS app development team. They listened, and there you go. So that's a bit of good news. But we're going to say goodbye from the rest of us now and hand over to our very own musician, the Angry Fish, Robin Surgener, who's going to introduce his song and play us out. Have a great weekend. Stay creative, stay home, and stay well.
Okay, so Josh, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
And if I don't melt wearing my outdoor gear, if you turn that mic on, okay, I'll just get this over my head. So, so today's yeah, you can join in. You can do it because you can't get out. I blocked him in because that's the kind of dad I am. Okay, so today's song is called "Glimpse of the Sun," and for any of you that were watching when I was wearing my Crystal Rose t-shirt, this is the song that inspired the purchase. There are moments in my life that let me understand that looks so very strong is as fragile as a crystal rose. It only takes a fraction of time to fracture the soul of the child behind the face that he wears to protect himself, the armor that he wears for his mental health. Stretch out and throw him a hug, hold him real tight and show him love. Squeeze in and catch a glimpse of the man. And when you find the man within, remember that he's just a child, born to a world of tear and fear. Bring out the glow, roll back the years. What can you say to make his day? Tell him that it's okay, that he has his thoughts. Tell him that it's okay, 'cause the world's been caught. What can you say to make him stay? Tell him okay, that he has his thoughts. Tell him that it's okay, that the world's been caught. Stretch out and throw him a hug, hold him real tight and show him love. Squeeze in and catch a glimpse catch a glimpse of the man. Stretch out and throw him a hug, hold him real tight and show him love. Sit down and take a glimpse of the man. Take a glimpse of the man within. Have a great weekend. Apologies for the, I'd like to say technical error, but otherwise forgot what I was doing for some bizarre reason. Have fun. Bye-bye.